WACT News begins now with breaking news.
A man is stabbed to death in Wilmington, and new information just released within the past 15 minutes reveals he was the same victim in a shooting earlier today. Tonight, police have the suspect in that stabbing in custody. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. That is just one of the several stories we are following tonight. A spokesperson for the Wilmington Police Department tells us that officers got the call about the stabbing just blocks over from downtown shortly before 7 this evening. Now, this was the scene tonight on North 6th Street near Brunswick Street, where police just left within the last half hour. They found 32-year-old Daniel Webb Scholler had been stabbed to death when they got there. They've arrested Terry Hopper, who is charged tonight with first-degree murder. Police say Webb Scholler was also the person who was shot in his car this afternoon on Colwell Avenue. At this time, it's not known if Hooper was also involved in that shooting.